as well. So let's go. Okay.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Welcome to yet another Breathe Sober Transformation episode. Today, I have an even more special guest with me. This is somebody who joined in January at the start of the year. Now we are almost at the end of October. So, this is a fascinating journey, and I cannot wait to share all the awesome things that happen and the not so awesome things. Of course, like no recovery path is straightforward. Um, I have with me Alena. Alena, welcome to welcome to this call. How are you?
Thank you. I'm really excited that we're doing this.
Amazing.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know this is something that you really wanted to do. So, Elena, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what life was like before you joined Breathe Sober?
Yeah, so my name is Alena. I'm 41. I'll be 42 in December. I was born and raised in the Vancouver area and lived 20 years in Australia, working all over, Australia and the Asia Pacific region. So Singapore, China, India, Japan, all of that. And then, made the bold choice, I guess, in the end of 2023 to move back home. So made a massive relocation, packed a suitcase, my cat, and sold all my word belongings, and here I am.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's me. I work professionally, normally. Generally have been in, director or managerial positions, so that always came with, I guess, a lot of pressure. Not necessarily pressure from the business, but pressure I put on myself. I guess always grew up wearing Little Miss Perfection hat, so that definitely took the toll. And it was a hat I was proud to wear, which is crazy that I look back on
Yeah.
it now.
So you travel all over the world. You have been, and now you're back to Canada. In terms of your relationship with alcohol, can you tell us a little bit more about what was going on, and what was causing it, and sort of what your emotional and your physical states were like at that time?
Yeah, I guess my relationship with alcohol, I didn't really drink or party through high school. Turned 19, legal drinking age, maybe went out a couple times, moved to Australia, and then it was all new and we were going out a fair bit. And then, but it was normally just, a few drinks on a Friday after work. It was never anything hectic up until maybe a few years ago. I think it was after lockdown, after COVID. Probably the tail end of 2022 is when I really started to, had some personal stuff go on, went through a really shitty breakup in a very toxic relationship. We're very good friends now, but we were not meant for each other, which happens, and I choose to learn the hard way. And I think through that, it was scary feelings. I'd never, growing up, not to fault my parents, they did what they, it was modeled for them and what they knew, but it was, don't cry. Or if you cry, you go to your room. So, processing in the height of lockdown when you're feeling so isolated, I was missing family, I was desperately homesick, and then going through something like that, it was like those feelings were really scary. And that's when I started to, I think, that's probably one of the points where I can pinpoint that I started to use alcohol, no longer just at the end of the week in social settings. I was buying wine and I was drinking it at home. I was withdrawing from friends, and that's sort of when it became quite a bit more unhealthy. That kind of continued through 2023. Became very unwell with my mental health. Actually spent some time in hospital. And then I just kind of stopped drinking, and then I moved back here, and it was, Christmas, and it was exciting, and it was a big relocation, and then I had my belated 40th birthday, and then reality set in, and it was like, oh my God, what have I just done? And I think through the frustration of, I had, zero professional Canadian work experience, trying to enter a new market at, a reason, at the level that I had thought that I should be, was living at home. My mom was at home at that time, and she's got very advanced dementia. So caring for her while working from home.
Wow.
I think that just, that's where I started drinking. My dad and I had a disagreement around mom's care. He asked me to find another place to live. So I had a week where I was like searching for Airbnbs with my cat in my suitcase, going, I have to log on by 9:00 tomorrow. I don't want work to know. And through all of that stress, it was just the one thing that was there that I felt could calm, was the alcohol. And
Wow.
my drinking just became more and more. And with that, my anxiety got out of hand. Like, I don't want to leave the house out of hand. So yeah,
So
I
it
guess that's sort
sounds
of where it
like,
was at its peak.
so it sounds like COVID and the lockdowns and all of that is what kickstarted using alcohol as a crutch, as a coping mechanism. And before that, it was more like a social thing. And what
Mm-hmm.
I want to highlight is that there are millions and millions of people who went through the exact same thing. And
Mm.
this is a very real consequence. The
Yeah, and I think
slow,
you'd see all those memes of people like, oops, 3 o'clock, time for my tea, and we'd all be hiding wine in our mugs, and we started as a joke,
I know.
but then that joke actually became real life habit, and it was not a joke
Who,
anymore.
who's the joke on, really, right?
Actually.
So, okay, so far we've established that so it was about a few years had passed where you're like, okay, this is now getting out of control. It killed your anxiety. I mean, it added more to your anxiety, which was killing you.
Mm-hmm.
You were withdrawing from people, you were isolating yourself, which again is a huge thing for a social creature like us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's around the time you found Breathe Sober. So can you walk us through sort of what you initially thought, and what made you say yes despite any fear or hesitation that you might be feeling at that time?
Yeah, I think what made me start looking for something else. I mean, I had gone to couple AA meetings, um, in sort of October, November of last year. Um, and they just didn't really resonate with me. I actually, trigger warning. I actually remember leaving. I think my first one was okay, and then I went to a next one, and I'm pretty sure on my walk back to the bus, I went past the bottle shop and bought some wine, and chucked it in my backpack, and took it back to my aunt and uncle's where I was living and hid it. Um, I was just like, ugh, I dysregulated myself further, even though I think I was probably feeling triggered. And then big catalyst for me was Christmas Day. I had one of the worst panic attacks I've ever had. Couldn't walk. I actually ended up in hospital on Christmas Day. And that for me was like, shit, something is gotta change. Like they were, giving me like Ativan to try to calm me down because I was shaking so bad. Like it was such an episode. So I ruined Christmas last year, and then I was like, okay, I'm pissing everybody off. Actually, do you know what? More importantly, I'm pissing myself off. So that's when I started to look about like, there's got to be something else. And then I came across, I think it was on Instagram, one of your ads, and I was like, oh, I had done some breath work before in a couple retreats, and I was like, wow, that was actually really transformative for me. It allowed me to feel the feelings I needed to feel, it allowed me to process my emotions, and I didn't feel wrecked after it. I actually felt quite energized, and I was like, maybe there's something to this. So I reached out. We had an initial chat, and in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, what if this doesn't work? Like, what if I'm just not meant to have help? But I was super determined, and at that point, I was like, it's a no-brainer. Just try it. You've tried a few other things. It's not worked. You've not liked it. So try something different.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say, what made it a no-brainer for you?
it was something I hadn't tried before. It was something that was a bit different. It was more holistic, as opposed to being, pumped full of pharmaceuticals. No judgment against that. We need medications. They work. But I just was hoping for a different path, and it was like a breath of fresh air. So I was just like, excuse my language, but F it, let's try it. Like,
Nice pun
all
there, I like it.
yeah.
So, okay, so you found Breathe Sober, you took a chance on yourself, you're like, fuck it, let's do it. Okay, so then what was a moment when, well, first of all, what was the experience like in the first like few weeks or months, and then what was the moment when you were like, whoa, I am different, this is working, and things are changing? So walk us through that.
Yeah, so starting it was like, oh, fill out the forms, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll get around to it. I'm so busy. And I actually heard this quote the other day, and it was, busy is the new lazy. it was like I'd signed up to it and I went all in, and then I was like, oh God, scene. Now I have to do the work.
Right.
There's somebody asking me for my worksheets and everything. And we did the worksheets, and then I can't remember if I actually initially went, I think I initially went to a call, and then we were doing regular coaching as well. We were doing one-on-one calls. And I kind of, it was more something I was like interested in, but I think I wasn't fully committed. Like I knew I needed to change, but it was almost like I wasn't ready or something, because I wasn't necessarily practicing every single day. I was like dabbling in it, you know, and it's like they say in practical magic, like you can't just dabble in magic. You can't just dabble in the breath work. Like it's the consistency and the practice that really is transformative. Over the next sort of however many months, one of my job contracts came to an end. It was, you know, I was promised permanency, but they were like, we actually don't have a headcount, sorry. So they actually ended it earlier than it was supposed to be. And that was 3 days before I was meant to move into here, which is my own apartment. So a little bit stressful. What I did do, I re-picked up the breath work and I started, you know, practicing. And then I, you know, started another job here and there. I kind of stopped and started. There were these periods of time where I call it, I'd go dark. Whereas, you know, we'd be trying to chat on WhatsApp, and, you know, you'd be trying to schedule my calls, and I was just ghosting you basically. And that ghosting came out of a deep feel of shame, because I knew that I'd had drinks the day before. So like,
Yeah, I knew what
my
you were
old
doing.
behaviors. Yeah. Me thinking I was like so stealth about it. But the good thing was, I mean, you had my number, but you also gave me the space to screw up. You know, you gave me just enough rope, but not enough for me to hang myself.
I like that. I mean, for me, part of being a good coach is to recognize what people are going through. I guess it helps that I was a bit of a maniac myself when it came to drinking and partying and all that. So I understood what was needed at the time. And so we know that this kind of journey is never a straight line, all good, and most people that do find their way into a new version of your life, it's very seldom that somebody just shows up and goes, all right, I got it. Right?
Flick a switch, done.
Yeah, done. I don't have a problem anymore. Whoops. But the reality is that it's not perfect. I would love to say, oh yeah, join my program and poof, your problems are gone. But then I am no different than every other Tom, Dick, and Harry that's promising you the world, right?
Also.
And the reality is that there's no trick. There's no one size fits all. And the most important thing is that you have to want it. You have to want to pick yourself up after every episode, every relapse, every moment where you're like, ah, shit, like I did it again, right? All of that, you have to pick yourself up. So I know there was a specific period of your life where something changed, something clicked. What was that? And can you describe sort of when you realized that, holy shit, this is actually working and like things are changing?
Yeah. I think after a number of stop-starts, it was around probably end of May, June this year. So kind of, I'd been part of the program for about 6 months. Only really started going to the meetings, you know, regularly, probably in May, and actually leaning in. And I'd started a new job, and I knew that I wanted, you know, how I wanted to show up, and that was in April. And it was a massive job, but I was getting to the point where I was like, I'm burnt out. Wasn't loving it, and I started getting those like, oh, we'll just have a few drinks then. We'll just have a few drinks then. I was like, no. And I leaned in and just started carving out time in my morning to do my breath work that you'd recorded for me. Then I got really into it and just started playing around. I would do it on my lunch breaks. And it was probably, I don't know, a month or two in, and it wasn't until maybe like July, I was like, I don't know, something shifted in my brain that I had been putting, you know, diverting those cravings and diverting the, I guess, the habit or the loop or the compulsion or whatever it is. And my habit actually became breathing. You know, if I was too overwhelmed from the day, I'd walk the long way, stop in a park, maybe do some breathing. And it was just something I was able to incorporate. I was even, you know, I spoke briefly before about, I was having panic attacks, really bad ones. I went to the rodeo here with my dad. It was the finals. It was so peoply. It was super, super loud, and like really loud noises or something that used to take my anxiety like over the edge into panic attack version. Territory. Yeah, what the word is. But I recognized what I was feeling in my body, and I put my my earbuds in just because they're noise canceling, and I just sat and breathed, and I was actually able to completely diffuse that panic attack that I could feel coming on. Because I was like, holy crap, you might have a panic attack in front of like 1,000 people, and like mine are pretty, like they're pretty intense. Like I can't walk, it's full on. And I was like, that's going to be awful. I don't want to create a scene. So I was like, oh fuck it, let's just try it. And you know what, it worked. And I wasn't sitting there for half an hour doing it. I was doing it for like, I don't know, 5-10 breaths, and I already felt like the calming, like my shakiness and stopped and whatever else. So that was when I was like, oh my god, this shit works. So yeah, then I just continued, and then something clicked in my brain, and I chose my dad's birthday in July, as I was like, this is it. This is the new me. Nothing else. No more old habits. No more, no more superficial conversations, relationships, anything like that. It was just like I was just there for me, and I just locked in. And here we are. We're over 100 days. So
I remember that moment, yes, and congratulations on your 100 days. The reason why we do 100 days is because that's the sweet spot of, now if you fuck it up, it's on you.
Well,
you know what I mean?
That's the thing. It's like, that was a conscious choice, my friend.
Yeah. So what I'm really trying to say is that, as far as your body and your mind, especially with doing the kind of work that we're doing, now you're in a good place in life. Now you can actually choose exactly where you want your life to go, how you want to build it, what kind of version of yourself you want to build. And that's precisely why this program is a year long, because it's not just about quitting drinking, really. It's more about becoming a person who, complete with a new mindset, new set of habits, and kind of like out with the old, in with the new, but for your being rather than your wardrobe, right? So that's the work that takes time, right? And it's the kind that you need experiences in that time, like the experience that you're describing with your dad. I remember now exactly like what that moment was like. And maybe if you scroll back in our conversations, you'll notice that around that time when you said that this is what happened, I remember saying that, okay, this time feels different. And that is because I also knew that you would come into this on your own. You just need a moment where you yourself, with no other outside influences. It doesn't work if I tell you to do it, right?
Yeah.
You have to want to do it.
But
by
I think
yourself.
Maybe that was also my mindset. I mean, around, I don't know, but could have been my mindset, like, around the A and the different other modules that I had, explored and tried, is that it was like my aunt and uncle being like, we'll go to a meeting, go do this. And it's like, I was already going to, but now you told me to, I'm not going to. Now I don't want to do it.
So, all right. So we now understand exactly when the major breakthrough happened for you, which was a few months in after joining the program. And again, I just want to emphasize that there's no magic pill, there's no nothing. It's just you and ancient breath work and mindfulness merged with the latest neuroscience available to all of us. That's what makes it different, and I know it does, but what that also means is, because of the way this is structured, for some people it comes right away, for some people it takes a couple of times, for most people sometimes it can take a while, right? But the reality is that each opportunity, like, you can either look at each of those instances as a giant massive failure and then wallow about it for the next several weeks, or you can look at it as an opportunity and say, okay, what did I learn, and what is the lesson that I can take from this, and make sure that the next time I'm in the same set of circumstances, how do I behave differently, right? That's what it's about. And you always brought that attitude, you always brought that mindset, you always brought that curiosity, that learning, that openness, that humility, and that is why you are where you are now today. So tell us what life is like now.
Um, life's really good now. It's funny if I look back at the me that joined the program. It was just like I have to do something, and it was just about actually quitting drinking. But then now it's like that. Like turned out to be a much different human than I had set out to be, because my initial goal was just I have to stop. I have to stop drinking. I didn't really have a vision as to what that looked like. I think when you did the guided meditation based upon my alcohol-free avatar, like that was very fluffy. I was just pulling shit out. Like I was like, I just have to get this filled out. I don't really even know what that looks like.
Thanks for letting me know now.
Well, but I thought that's what I wanted. I thought that's what I had needed, but I think the different, as you said, each time I restarted or fumbled or whatever, it was never starting from rock bottom. It was starting from like the next stair up. So it's always building. Life now, I mean, my anxiety used to be so bad that, and I predominantly worked from home quite a bit. I had to have my weighted blanket. Like I remember one night my anxiety was so bad, I bought on DoorDash, I think it was, a weighted blanket from like the Real Canadian Superstore, and because I needed that delivered that night because I was not coping. I bought everything under the sun that was supposed to help my anxiety, and I used that weighted blanket like regularly. Like I was always under it if I wasn't at my computer. Sometimes I would have it on my lap, but I have not used my weighted blanket since probably March. Like I moved it here, but I don't need that weight or that that calming effect anymore. I wake up.
And why is that?
Well, because I'm not completely cooking my nervous system with alcohol. That makes my anxiety even worse. I mean, I never had a problem with health or my blood work or whatever, but I recently just had my bloods done, and they've come up like everything crystal clear, like no deficiencies, absolutely nothing. Whereas I was having vitamin deficiencies because of the amount of wine and whatever else I could get into that I was drinking at the time. I think I show up as a much different human. I'm much more considered. I'm much more curious. Like I'm trying things and putting myself out there to things I would have been terrified to do and I wouldn't have done. I've even gone on a couple dates sober, and I've actually had no issue being, and they're like, oh, do you want to drink? And it's like, yeah, can I get a Sprite? It's like, I don't drink. Like that's on my profile. And they're like, oh, and some people are curious and some people are like, oh, I don't drink either. I was getting into trouble or, whatever it might've been. So it opens up, I guess, just a much deeper.
You froze. Oh, there you are.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
But I was just going to say, like, I think that like the calming of my nervous system, not using alcohol, I have so much more time that I was able to finish, various certifications that I've always wanted to do that I never did because I prioritized relaxing with wine and like a comfort show on Nutty or, whatever streaming platform. But yeah, I think I'm much more considered. I'm having much deeper conversations and much better conversations with humans. I'm actually enjoying life. It's simple, but like I'm taking so much satisfaction in how simple life is right now.
So if we were to just take a pause here, by using your breath and learning the tools, you went from basically riddled with anxiety where you needed several ways to cope with it and it was a big problem in your life, to pretty much eliminating it and building a version of yourself where you are happier, fulfilled, going on dates, your self-confidence is at such a high where you don't even feel the need to have a drink. And this is one thing, that was my Achilles heel when I was single. When I wanted to stop drinking, I would always run into, well, what am I going to do on dates? And I would just always leave it there. That's it. Okay, well, it's either you don't go on a date or you go and drink. There's only one winner.
And I guess I was also, when I was drinking, it was also, I wasn't showing up as me. Like I was showing up like an asshole. I was like, oh, they want to, I'll just be the fun party girl because that's what people like. And
Right.
I think I've really discovered so much about who I actually am and what I will and won't stand for. And it's reflective in the types of humans that I'm chatting to. Totally different bucket of humans.
Yep. Your I mean, this is what it means. To anyone who's watching, if you've ever seen any of my website or anything, I keep talking about becoming the most thriving and authentic version of you. This is what it looks like. This is what it is. So, Alena has gone from what we described earlier to fulfilled, so self-confident. She is just building a life for herself. She is feeling good in her body. She is accomplishing things in half the time. She's motivated, she's driven. I mean, what a stark contrast in just a few months from having so much pain and anxious thoughts in your life, being displaced, and then moving hemispheres. Like, it's a lot for anyone. Um, and that's just fascinating. I'm honestly so thrilled that you joined us and you kept pushing, and you wanted this. You truly wanted this, and now you have it. So I'm just nothing but full of gratitude for having this experience.
Me too.
What
You've given me
would
life back.
I mean, you gave it back to yourself. I just showed you what could be possible. So that's a thank you. I'll take a little bit of that credit.
You should
Uh,
take it.
so what's your advice to anyone who might be watching this and going like, oh God, I'm gonna have to spend money again. What if it doesn't work? Or what if I can't do it? What if I just, I've tried so many times before, etc., etc., etc. Right? All the fear, the same fear that you felt when you were like, okay, shit, now I have to like make an investment, to make a decision, right? So, what is your guidance or your advice for anyone who might be sitting on the fence thinking, shit, man, like I need to change my life, but I don't know.
My advice, I guess, would be that you need to want to do it for yourself. No, and you need to be prepared to lock in, whether that takes you a month, whether that takes you 3 months, 6 months, like it took me, with so many different attempts. You have to want it. Nobody else is going to do this for you. Like if it was easy and it was a magic pill, nobody would have any issues with dysregulated nervous system, anxiety disorders, etc. So I think like that's a big thing. And I think the other thing is, don't be afraid. Like, just as, as humans, we're as different as snowflakes, like we're all unique. Like your healing is not linear. It is up and down. It is 10 steps forward, 3 steps back, or maybe it's 3 steps forward, 10 steps back. And I think remembering that there's no right and wrong. Another way to think about healing journey is that it's like a flight path. You know your destination. You know what time it's taking off, and you know that you're going to end up in Paris, Aruba, wherever you might be going. That's your end destination. But during that path, you have to, the pilot has to course correct. Maybe there's some turbulence, so they go up higher. Maybe they have to drop lower. There's another plane. That's, you're still going to get there, but it's about embracing each day as an opportunity just to be like that 1% better. And just harness that energy and just remember how good you feel. And at the end of the day, if your brain's racing, it's not, a glass of wine is not going to solve that, or whatever your poison might be. It's write it all down, brain dump it, do some breathing. If you need to, watch a nice show. I'm back to drawing. I've studied. Like, there's so much life out there. And I think just back yourself in. And yeah, it is an investment. But the thing is, it's not a cost. Like the only thing alcohol was successful in for me was me pissing people off and me not succeeding. Like, that's the only thing it was successful in. It didn't make me smarter. It didn't make me more popular. It definitely didn't make me skinnier. Didn't make me more successful. It actually hindered all of those things, even though that's what I thought it was doing. So yeah, I think, you have the opportunity to change your life, and it's not a cost. It's honestly an investment. And at the end of the day, if you keep trying to manage it yourself, without the support and the accountability of the group and of something like Breathe Sober, you're probably going to blow all that on a bender in a couple weekends anyways. Like, it's the reality.
The best analogy that I can offer is when you're trying to do this alone, have you ever tried to put IKEA furniture together without the manual?
I actually would Airtasker it. So it's like you get somebody to come and do it for you, because I wasn't even about to try with the manual.
I mean, that's the same example, right? Then I showed up to build your furniture for you.
Yeah.
But it's, the analogy is that, look, like, you can try to do it and you'll probably get it done at some point, but not without an insane amount of frustration, self-doubt. Did I do this right? Is it gonna hold? I don't even know. Where are the other parts, right? Versus having a step-by-step format where you're like, okay, in and out in a certain amount of time and I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing I will tell you guys is that this is not like, I want you to come into my program once only, learn everything, and then be on your merry way. This is not like rehabs where I need you coming back every 6 months to be profitable. You know what I mean? This is just, and this is all holistic, all breath work, all science, and we have so much fun getting sober. Like, that's the one thing. Like, all of our calls, we laugh together, we share life together, and it's people from all walks of life that are here. Whether you're a parent, whether you're a professional, whether you are both, whether you're a single mom, whether you are, whether you are someone who is just getting out of a divorce and you're like, fuck, I feel lost, I don't know what's going on. The bottom line is, if you're thinking about it, if you have been considering it, look, it doesn't hurt to have a conversation. I'd love to learn more about what your situation is, what your challenges are, because it's not about the alcohol. It's way past that now. It's about your nervous system, it's about your stress response, it's about how you deal with overwhelm, it's about what you're wired for, what your habits are, what your mindset is toward alcohol and other things that exist in your world, in your external environment, that exist specifically to remind you of the patterns that start once you feel something, once you hear something, whether it's after work, whether it's an argument with your spouse or whatever, right? We're talking about the cues, the origins of, I need a drink, right? I feel like having a drink. Where did it come from? It came from somewhere. So the link is in the description if you are thinking about learning more, if this is going to be a fit for you. Just so you know, on the call, it's a diagnostic call. It's not a sales call. It's more about like me trying to ask you questions about, okay, what's your life is like? What are your habits like? What is your routine like? Because this is completely customized. There's no one size fits all. Every human being is unique. So like, there's no like, here's a program, work it and figure it out. And what that also means is that because of this insanely high level of customization and personal care with all the work that we do, we're not a big group, and it will never be this giant insane group. It's always, it feels very homemade and very, very homey, and I want to keep it that way. So we can't really work with more than like 10-15 people at a time, to be honest. So again, just if you're curious about if this is right for you or if this can work for you in your specific situation, the only way to know that is to book a call and have a open conversation with me. Aside from that, Alena, thank you so much for showing up and for speaking your truth. I am so thrilled about not just about how far we have come, but really how much awesomeness there is still to experience. So thank you.
No, thank you so much. And thank you for the wonderful community as well. Like, that's been game changing. Like, I've met the coolest people in with those little groups. So that's been a huge help. So,
awesome.
But yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, Yay! No worries. Okay, everybody, thank you very much. And we'll be back in another couple of weeks with the next one. So until then, stay tuned and be well. Take care.
See ya.